Okay, sex avengers. These old fogies are very set in their ways. They're hopped up on ED medication, and they got nothing to lose, because they're close to death.
Also, seniors can be pretty ornery.
Actually, I think it's pronounced horny.
Hello everybody. Today we're talking about old people and sex. That's right, you heard me, old people and sex. What are the keywords that come to your mind when you think about old people and sex? At the top of my head, I can throw things out like saggy balls, saggy breasts, no sex drive, erectile dysfunction, dryness, creepy, gross sometimes, I don't know. But I really feel for the old people. I recently did a video on disabilities and sex and how sex is much needed and wanted for people with disabilities and how they are often underrepresented in the sex world. And I did a video on that to sort of shed light on the topic, open up some discussion, get a community going, because I know that I have a lot of people with disabilities that do watch my videos. And well, you know, the old people need some love too. Am I right? We all need some love, including the oldies. But before we get into this video, I just wanted to remind you guys that if you enjoy this content, if you enjoy this channel, and you want to support me as a creator and the well-being of the channel, you can do so by clicking on the links below this video and check out my Patreon. I offer some exclusive content on there. And for those of you who are currently a member, even if it's for 1 month or many months, I just want to say thank you so much for contributing to the financial well-being of this channel. I appreciate it so much. All right, back to old people and sex. I'm doing this video for 3 reasons, okay? The first one is that 50% of my audience are ages 50 and up, with 20% of them being 65 and over. Now, that tells me that that population of people are looking for a little bit of entertainment, or else they wouldn't be on my channel, am I right? And secondly, after spending a lot of time in Thailand, yes, I did notice many times much older gentlemen with much younger women. I mean, you can't escape it. It's just everywhere. And it really got me thinking about the whole old people and sex thing. Now, I also know that I didn't necessarily see a lot of older women with younger men in Thailand. It's not really the place where older women would go, I think, for something like that. But there is definitely a population of older women who are looking to get some lovin' as well, whether it's from a younger man or whether it's from a same age partner. And third, this got me thinking about my own sex life and me as I age through life, because I often go through very ups and downs in my sex life. Sometimes I'm very sexually active. Other times I'm not that sexually active. And in the times where I'm in a down, where I'm not really feeling that sexual, I could even say it sometimes that I feel asexual. I think to myself, is this it? Have I reached my peak? Do I not want to have sex anymore? Is this how I'm going to go through the rest of my life and just get old and age and not enjoy my sexuality anymore? Anyways, I don't know if that makes sense, but regardless, I think this is an important issue to bring up and get some wise words from the people who are watching my videos. So for you oldies, I don't know if that's appropriate to say or not, I'm trying to be funny, but for you older and wiser humans that are watching my videos, if you could shed some light on this topic and share some words of wisdom with younger generation that are on this platform, we would really appreciate it so much. And I'm also really happy to be able to provide a platform where you can talk a little bit dirty, sexy, and share some experiences and share some insight into what sex is like when you get old. I think we can all agree that sex is such an important part of our well-being. And I'm not just talking about like the dirty, raunchy kind of sex. I'm also talking about physical and emotional intimacy, which I believe that every human craves on a fundamental level. So when we think about sex and old people, there are definitely some misconceptions out there that we're gonna try and debunk a little bit. All right, misconception number 1 is that old people are asexual. They're not horny, they don't wanna have sex, they don't get wet, they don't get hard. Well, I mean, maybe they do physically or physiologically don't get wet or get hard, but there are medications to help with that. It doesn't mean that they're not horny in the mind, right?
The best way to prevent them is to use protection.
Well, that's all fine and good, but what if the banana is soft and mushy and dog legs sharply to the left.
Oh.
I think we can all agree that your sex drive definitely decreases the older you get, right? I believe there are some medical studies that confirm that. But obviously it varies from person to person in terms of the speed that it decreases at. And also you're talking about some physical and physiological changes to your body as well that definitely affect the way that you have sex. Like I can just imagine for myself when I get older, the kind of challenges that we're gonna have or that I'm gonna have. You know, I got a back injury from many years ago from work that creeps up on me here and there. And I could definitely foresee that having an impact on my sex life in the future in terms of what kind of positions that I can participate in. In a recent study, I read that in the United States, a study of people between the ages of 75 to 85 who were reportedly sexually active, 54% reported having sex 2 to 3 times a month, and 23% reported having sex 1 time or more per week. That statistic blew my mind.
These old people really having sex with each other?
Yeah, what did you think they were doing?
I thought we were just talking about it.
I don't know about you guys, but something tells me that those old people are having way more sex than most young married couples these days. All right, so maybe we could learn a little something from them. So I personally know a friend of a friend whose parent is currently in a home. They've unfortunately developed a lifelong illness that won't be going away anytime soon and is only controlled by medication. And despite the illness, this person is still getting it on because they have found love in the home that they are in and often find themselves creeping into the room of their chosen lover at night and, you know, having some fun. And what makes the story even sweeter, I don't know if it's sweeter, but oftentimes in the mornings, they don't really remember who the other person is in their bed. I know we've seen these kinds of things happen on TV and so on, but these things also happen in real life. I think it's very sweet and cool that people in these situations are still living their lives and getting it on and feeling excited. And, you know, maybe they're not having the same kind of insane sex that they were having when they were younger. Maybe they are, I don't know. Maybe it's even better, who knows? It just goes to show you that people are still craving sexual intimacy and physical connection and emotional connection and so on, regardless of what's going on in here. The second misconception is that sex is often referred to as intercourse or partnered sex, so sex with a partner. Well, when you get old, things happen to your body, right? Sometimes you may not be able to have actual intercourse. You might not be able to have the P in the V. There are many things that can potentially block you from participating in sexual intercourse. There's erectile dysfunction, there's vaginal dryness, and there's a list of a million other things that I don't know about, and I'll probably learn to know about it many, many, many years down the line. Just as I spoke about in my sex and intimacy video, which you can check out, there are many different ways to have sex. It just depends on what you and your partner define sex as. It can look very, very different from one person to the next. Sometimes it's about different forms of physical and emotional connection that looks like sex to them. And when it comes to partnered sex, we also have to remember that when you get old, sometimes your partner will pass away, sometimes your partner might get sick and be physically, emotionally, mentally unable to engage in sexual acts with you. So then? What do you do? Now, this point brings me back to Thailand. All right, and I know that there are many questionable behaviors in Thailand and so on, but I had a few interactions there and I observed a few things that really got me thinking about the whole sex and old person situation. Outside of my hotel, there's a little table with 2 little chairs and it's facing a few massage parlors and it's just a great place to sit and watch TV, right? Because you sit there and you're just observing the chaos in front of you and you're, you know, chatting with people that are walking by and making friends with the girls across the street and so on. It's a great place to make friends with strangers because if you're sitting there alone, you can guarantee that someone is going to sit next to you in that chair and start chatting your ear off. One day I was sitting there and there was a gentleman that came to sit next to me me. He started chatting with me and was telling me that he just came from the place across the street, which I know is a place that looks like a foot massage place, but there's never anyone in those chairs. It's a happy ending place, but it's quite nice and a little bit more upscale. And he told me that across they give the best massages, and I thought he was referring to the happy ending massages. So I just said, oh, okay. And then he was going on about the Thai massage and the foot massage and how he has MS and some other spinal issue that I cannot remember the name of, unfortunately. He just started opening up to me. You know, he was an older gentleman. He was in his 60s. And so we got started to talking. He basically dove down his entire medical story with me, which was one of those like medical miracle stories. And he used to be in a wheelchair, and he's not in a wheelchair anymore. He's traveling Thailand, which is pretty amazing. Even when he was in a wheelchair, he was still traveling because he did not want to let that stop his life at all. But to deal with his illness, he tried many different things. One of those things was Thai massages and different kinds of massage techniques, which he found was incredibly helpful. So when he's in Thailand, he really takes advantage of that. And then we started chatting about travel stories and so on, and he mentioned that he was in the Philippines. And then when I asked him where in the Philippines, I was not surprised at all when he said Angeles City, because I mean, he chuckled when he told me, and I chuckled as well, because the people who go to Angeles City, there's only one reason why you go there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can check out the video I made about Angeles City when I went there for 2 days with Gab. But let's just say it is a hub spot for sex tourism. Not my cup of tea there, but definitely something to see once in your life. He went there and then he followed up with, oh, well, you know, I didn't really do anything. I can't feel anything down there. So this conversation got pretty intimate pretty fast. And I don't know why I have this thing where people just tend to open up to me, especially about their sexuality. But yes, so he was just telling me because of his condition, he can't feel anything down there anymore. And he wishes he could, but he can't. So, you know, he went to Angeles City to look around and stuff and maybe experience something, but he couldn't. That's pretty much it for him. It's been like that for a couple of years, and he had tried many different things, many pills and so on, but nothing works. And I asked him if he feels orgasms anywhere else in his body, because I had heard that if you are paralyzed down there, then you can have other orgasmic sensations in other parts of your body. And he told me that the orgasms he feels right now are more emotional orgasms. So he craves more intimacy, more physical touch, like cuddles and so on, and hugs and everything like that. And that's really where he gets his orgasm from. He didn't really dive into detail about what that feels like, but I'm assuming that it's not the typical orgasm that you and I are thinking of right now, but it's more of a comforting, sensual, passionate, intimate feeling of just feeling close to somebody else. And then I got, you know, thinking about him, and I mean, he was a very nice guy, and I feel bad that there's definitely some stigma against someone like him. I guess you'd say outsiders who don't really understand, who just kind of look in and see him as like a creepy old man kind of looking to get laid sort of thing. But you know, he is a human and he has emotional needs, and he's an older gentleman, he's single, and he's just looking for some cuddles. And then there was another scene that I observed that also got me thinking about this topic. Again, sitting on that little chair outside of my hotel room. Across there's a happy ending massage place, and there's a big table where all the girls who work there just sit outside and they're drinking and they're eating and they're on their phones and just chilling, waiting for clients basically. And sometimes there's a gentleman that comes and he sits with them and he'll buy them drinks from the place next door, and they'll just chat and so on. That happens sometimes with some clients. So sometimes they'll go upstairs, sometimes not. But this gentleman in particular was very old, and he was sitting with them for quite a long time. I hadn't really seen someone sit with them for that long, over an hour at least, and it just looked like he was hanging out with them. They were having a beer, and it looked like they were all in good company. I don't know what the language barrier was there, but he seemed like he was enjoying their presence. The girls were laughing with him. It just looked really pleasant. At some point, he got up and he started walking upstairs, and I said, oh, okay, like this gentleman is treating himself to a happy ending. It was like a team effort. All the women were helping him up the stairs because he had a cane, so he needed assistance, and the place is upstairs. There were 2 girls side to side, like helping him walk upstairs, and there was another one holding his cane. And I don't know what it was, and maybe you'll think I'm crazy for thinking this, given the circumstances circumstances and you know, all the I guess controversy around, you know, Thailand and the sex tourism and so on. But there was something really nice and pure and beautiful about that scene. I mean, I'm sure this man, he was just looking for some lovin', right? So when you think about that particular situation, you receive some pleasure, as long as everyone is consenting to it, of course, but everyone needs love, you know? I don't know what you think about that, but drop it in the comments below. Anyways, the third misconception, I think, maybe, is that old people aren't kinky. If anything, I feel like the older you are, the kinkier you are. One, because you don't give a shit anymore of what anyone thinks of you. You've lived your life, you've been through some shit, like you don't care. You just wanna lay it out on the table and be like, this is what I'm into. I don't care what you think about me. Let's just do it, sort of thing. And secondly, is that you've lived so long, so you know yourself well enough to know exactly what you want and exactly what turns you on. Granted, the older you get, your bodies change and you kind of have to relearn how your body works. But I'm thinking that with time and age also comes with patience and maturity and care and a willingness to learn. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm off about all this. Again, please, wise humans, drop in the comments below what you think about this. What do you think about the misconceptions? Any advice, tips? I would love to hear what you have to say. And the last misconception is that sexual health is still very much apparent and important in older folks. So conversations about protection and STIs and so on are so important still to this day, regardless of what age you are. If you're having sex, you got to think about these things. Absolutely.
Does anyone know what we risk when we have unprotected sex?
Heart attack.
Partner dies on top of you.
Yes, but the truth is, the greatest risk you face is sexually transmitted diseases.
I've read in some studies about aging stereotypes and sexual expression that some physicians are very reluctant to ask old people about their sexuality and their sex lives and their sexual health and so on, and are much more willing to talk about their bowel movements and so on than talk about sex. And that most of the time, if the conversation does come up, it is usually the patient that does bring it up. I guess if you're a physician, try and do a little better, because I'm sure that when you get old, you're gonna wanna have these conversations with someone as well. Just something to be mindful of, I guess. Not that I'm here giving advice to doctors, but I don't know. Anyways, like I always say, I'm not a professional. I'm not, you know, I don't have any certifications, or I'm not a therapist or sex educator or anything like that. I really just enjoy talking about the topic in a very lighthearted kind of way, and sort of planting some seeds for people to pick up on and to engage some conversation and just put it out there. So yeah, sex and old people. So if you are watching this video and you are considering yourself an old person and you have some wonderful words of wisdom, please use the comments below to drop some of those wisdom bombs on us, and be nice, be kind, okay? Nobody wants negativity in these comments at all. These are real topics, real people, real situations of things that we go through, and it's all normal, whether you think you're weird or not, okay? We're all weird, so that's it. And last but not least is my Patreon. If you are enjoying this content, if you are enjoying my channel, you can check out the link below this video and support me on my Patreon. If you are a current supporter, I just want to say thank you so much for contributing to the financial well-being of this channel. And I hope I didn't offend anyone in this video. I was just trying to keep it real and put my thoughts out there. Hopefully opening some doors for some of you to have some casual conversations about sex, relationships, and other fun stuff, since most of you watching this are in the 50 plus or the 65 plus category. So that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Je vous aime.